and welcome back to the NWA 1984 project. I'm your host, Alex G. And with me, as always, is Matt Riley. How you doing, Matt?
I am super duper.
All right, man. I dig it. Now, when it comes to these shows that we do, it seems in the past year or so that we unfortunately have to report about wrestler deaths. We have had quite a bit in the last year in terms of our childhood heroes passing away. And we often take times to reflect about these fallen stars. And most recently, Harley Race has passed away. And me personally, I've gotten to meet Harley Race in the past, and he's a man's man, for sure. Definitely a man's man. I don't think he may get the credit that he is deserved. Think about NWA World Heavyweight Champions. If you don't have Harley Race in your top three, then I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you shouldn't be watching wrestling anymore. I don't know. Throughout the decade of the 70s, he was the top guy in professional wrestling. He was one of the great workers and one of the great promos in the history of professional wrestling, and one of the most influential men in the world of wrestling. So when it comes to Harley, and we talk quite a bit about Harley, because I'm a Harley Race guy, for sure. We think about his matches with Terry Funk and Dory Funk, and his matches with Briscoe, and then even his run into the '80s in the WWF as King Harley Race. He always had a level of respect for Harley. And you can see it when other wrestlers talk about him. He's like your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler. Yeah. He's one guy that no one ever talks bad about. Even Ole Anderson. I recently watched an interview with Ole Anderson. And Ole Anderson hates everyone. He shits on everyone except for Harley Race. And it's weird to me. We talk about modern wrestling quite a bit on this show. We talk about people killing the business, and there was a thought back in the day that Harley Race was killing the business. He was doing too much, and he wasn't a collegiate wrestler. He wasn't an amateur. He was someone, he was just a rugged, tough dude coming out, from what I understand, the carnivals back in the day. And he was just a rugged, tough guy and eventually became world heavyweight champion. And that's a hell of a story.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys have, Briscoe, collegiate wrestler, the Funks, their legacy. Flair was a collegiate wrestler in Minnesota. And Harley was none of those things. He was just, the toughest guy in the room, the toughest guy in the arena, toughest guy at the bar. To me, when I think of Harley Race's matches and some of the stuff that he was doing that was revolutionary at the time. We talk about guys who revolutionized professional wrestling. Harley Race is definitely on this list. And the old timers back in the day in the 70s, like, oh, Harley's killing the business, which I find funny. He trained guys. He was a pretty good manager for Lex Luger and for Vader, and he's someone who's always been around. And it's sad that he's no longer around with us, but his legacy will absolutely live on. And when he said he was the greatest wrestler on God's green earth, he meant it, and you believed him for sure when he told you that. You know what I mean? And
the World Heavyweight Champion, Harley Race. We have a character in this area named John Foley who keeps saying money talks. I understand that belt is worth something like $300,000 a year to a wrestler. Is that fairly accurate?
Well, that and a little more. It's worth what the champion is worth. And most champions have made around that $300,000 bracket. But I've got mine up there quite a ways, Ed. I'm doing fantastic with it because I can do it better than any other human being that's ever wore it.
Well, you've got Jake Roberts tonight, and Jake's a pretty fine fighter. He's a young man on his way up.
I have met a lot of young men on their way up, and I've been able to turn them back. Not saying that Jake Roberts is not great. I'm just saying that I'm that much greater than any human being that ever stepped into this squared circle. I'll show the kid tonight exactly what I'm talking about. He makes one mistake, Ed, and he's beat. I'll guarantee you. Just one, and he's beat. I don't make mistakes.
Okay, Harley Race, the world champion, and I guess you have to classify him as pretty confident going into this fight, right? Yeah.
It's sad to me, but it gives us an opportunity to kind of celebrate Harley a little bit here. Not that we haven't done it on the show before, because we totally have in the past. And
Harley Race, the current world heavyweight champion, has made good a promise that he made to himself and to the world in general in the month of August 1973, about 10 days after he had lost the World Heavyweight Championship to Jack Briscoe. He vowed that he would not rest until he regained that title. February 6th, 1977, that came true. And Harley, I can only go back in time and remember when at the age of 17, your wrestling career was cut short by an automobile accident. You were put in critical condition. The doctor said you would never wrestle again, that you probably would never walk again. You've certainly proven them all wrong.
Let me say this, Gordon. What you do in your life, you do with self-determination. I don't have all that great amateur background that 90% of the wrestlers today have. They told me, not only when I had the accident, that I wouldn't wrestle again. Every promoter in America throughout the world told me that I was not championship caliber because of that background. Well, I guess throughout the years that I proved to everyone in wrestling, whether they like me or dislike me, that I am made of championship caliber. Right here's the proof of it. 2 times. 2 times, Gordon. There isn't probably 3 other men in the history of wrestling that can sit here and say that they held this 2 times. There's only probably 10 alive today that can ever say they held it 1 time. Well, here's living proof, not only in a belt, in myself, and when I walk in that ring. I do what I've got to do to win at all costs. It may not be what you like, but it's a winner for me.
Thank you very much. Harley Race, NWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Champion.
And we look at some of his greatest matches, and definitely the matches he had with Terry and with Jack Briscoe, and the matches that he had, later on, even with Flair. Flair was always a good opponent for Harley. I mean, their Starrcade 83 match wasn't the greatest, but I've seen other matches with Harley.
I didn't think that there was anything on the face of the earth that would ever push me to do what I'm going to do right now. But Flair, you have pushed me as far as you're going to push. Right here is $25,000. And it goes to any human being that can eliminate Ric Flair from wrestling. Take a look at it. Paul Jones, you and your whole entourage of people. Dick Slater. Kabuki. The names, the list, it goes on and on. Any human being that can eliminate Ric Flair for me has got $25,000 cash. I'll give it to any living human being. Jack Briscoe, you are world's champion. You took the belt from me. You're the man. You can do it. It's here for you. Come and get it, please. Somebody take the damn money. I want rid of Flair.
And Flair are really, really good. And Harley would take these tremendous bumps. And I wish he didn't do so many diving headbutts because we know the issues with CTE. And he did a lot of those. And, he had good matches with Hogan later on in his career, too. I think a lot of people forget about the Race Hogan matches.
All right, stay tuned for more exciting World Wrestling Federation action just hours away down at the Boston Garden. Tonight is tonight's phenomenal card. It's going to be Can-Am going up against Demolition. What a tag team bout that should be. George the Animal Steel to meet Dangerous Sandy Davis. Coco Beware, one-on-one against the Honky Tonk Man. And in a return title defense, the heavyweight champion of the world. Tonight, Hulk Hogan, in a Texas death match, no holds barred, will be challenged by this man. Yes, it is a return. The King. Harley Wrestling, Sands manager Bobby Heenan. Heenan apparently not here this week, Harley. The King, Your Highness.
You better keep it that way, Mr. Oakland, because tonight in the Boston Gardens, you're going to see a man's career come to an end. A legend in a few short years is going to be extinguished. Mr. Hogan, I'm looking dead at you, I hope. If I'm not, I'm looking at those morons that support you. Because in the Boston Gardens tonight, and let me say that one more time, tonight in the Boston Gardens, Hogan, is the end of your career, and you're damn well gonna bow at the feet of the king when I remove the belt.
Well, I'll tell you what. Don't run away, Your Highness. But in all due respect, this guy has held the title under some pretty tough conditions for the past 3.5 years. Not even Andre the Giant could upend Hulk Hogan.
I'm not Andre the Giant, and I've held more titles than Hulk Hogan will ever hold the longest day of his life. That's why I wear the crown. And in the Boston Gardens tonight, I'll wear the gold.
All right, we're going to find out just hours away. Hulk Hogan to meet Harley Race Texas Death Match. Don't miss it.
You know, the funny story about Harley was that when the WWF was going into the Kansas City in the Central States area, he tried to set their ring on fire because he's Harley Race. He went to the arena and tried to set the ring on fire, and then he came back later on the night with the gun, and Hulk Hogan thought he was going to shoot him, and the Hulkster was hiding in the bathroom stall. And instead of shooting Hulk Hogan, he asked him for a job, and that's how he got his job in the WWF. And that's Harley. Harley, you know, he's the type of guy who would drive 100 down a one-way street, not give a fuck, smoking his cigarette and not caring. And, you know, he's influenced so many guys.
Earlier in the program, we saw this man in action. He's the only man in the history of the NWA to hold that title on 7 different occasions. And yet, after your first year in professional wrestling and that severe auto accident that you had, the doctor said you would never walk again, far less ever wrestle.
That's right, Gordon. But I've been proving people wrong since I've been in wrestling. I have proved everyone wrong with the world's title. I'm the only man in the history of wrestling to hold it 7 times. And I am here today to say that this, what is talking to you right now, there's nothing plastic about him. Now, up in the New York area, they're used to a lot of camouflage plastic. They've got people running around the city calling themselves what they're not. Well, I'm here to tell you and them right now, in order to prove me wrong, get off your backside and hop in a ring with me anywhere around the world. And I'll guarantee you that I'll show you that what I'm saying is absolute truth. In the last few weeks, you've had everyone else on here, and you've talked to everyone else, Gordon. Well, you're talking to the all-time best right now. You've got the Cadillac of the line, or the Rolls Royce, or whatever you want to call it. But I'm here to issue a challenge to any human being walking down the street of New York City or any other part of the great Northeast. Hop your butt in the ring with me and let's see who the best man in professional wrestling is today. Whether it's me, whether it's you. But let's find out. Let's get it out where the people can see it. And I'll prove to you that all you have seen for years is total plastic, buddy. Total plastic. This is the man.
Thank you so much. Let's go to the ring, please.
Again, if you want to see a modern example of kind of Harley Race's style, watch any Triple H in his prime matches. Because Triple H was trying to emulate Harley Race. To the point where, at one point in Triple H's career, he was doing the whole Harley Race cosplay deal for like a year, which is weird when he had the big beard and the mutton chops for no reason.
Oh, yeah.
But if you want to see what a modern interpretation of Harley Race, you look to Triple H, because he's definitely you can absolutely tell that he was influenced by him quite a bit in terms of his work and his style in the ring.
Right now, wrestling fans, let's go back in the locker room area to my colleague, Lord Alfred Hayes.
This is Lord Alfred Hayes, and I am seated in the august presence of the king of wrestling, Harley Race, and there's many burning questions that people would like to ask you, and I naturally would like to ask you. First off, Harley, I thought there were questionable circumstances involved in this decision that was handed to you by the referee in your victory over Santana. Now, how did you see that?
What could be questionable, my lord, out of a simple referee counting 1, 2, 3?
Well, firstly, let me point out, I was watching this from two different angles on the monitor. The first angle I saw that your manager, Bobby the Brain Heenan, had got up onto the side of the apron and he was going for a foreign object in his pants. Now, at that point, he should have been disqualified. Let me finish this. Let me finish this, please, and then you can say exactly what you want to. Now, following that, it was very, very plain that on the count of 2, that Santana lifted his right shoulder. It came down back on the count of 3, so right there and then, there should have been no count, but you should have been disqualified. However, the referee did give you that verdict.
The referee happens to know what he's doing in the ring. You ought to know, with the years that you put in professional wrestling, that if a man's shoulders are down, they are down. Now, I don't care what the people think. I could care less. I thought you would be a little more unbiased than Gorilla Monsoon. But it seems to me that you're not used, or you've been in America too long and away from royalty, that you do not know how to respect it either. Now, let me just simply say this, and you also know that this is true, that my manager can occupy any position around that ring except inside it. Now, if I'm wrestling someone that does not have the intelligence to keep his mind on what he's doing, then that's not my problem. That falls under the problem of Tito Santana. I'm there to do what I do better than any other living human being. And I just proved it. I don't have to sit here and try to alibi for it. An official, a state-appointed official, said 1, 2, 3, and they raised the king's hand.
Harley Race, all I said was I wanted your opinion of it. Now, I didn't need that debate or whatever you please to call it.
I give you an opinion. I give you the absolute truth as to what happened to Mr. Tito Santana.
Harley Race, we heard that. We're very thankful, and we know that you're the king of wrestling, and we're going now back to ringside of my colleague, Gorilla Monsoon.
In my presence.
What a fountain of misinformation, handsome Harley Race. Unbelievable events.
To me, I just, it's hard. Like, again, another one of your childhood heroes, going away. And it's funny because my brother is the most casual wrestling fan in the world. He doesn't watch, but he casually understands what's going on. And the one guy he remembers from the fucking 80s is handsome Harley Race. For whatever reason, I have no idea why. But we see tweets from like Dee Snider, who was a big fan of Harley Race, and David Cohn, the baseball player, talked about his memories of Harley Race. So again, Harley, during his time, during his prime, during his championship run, one of the biggest stars in professional wrestling by far. Drew big houses all over the country, drew big houses in Japan.
Yep.
And he's one of the all-time greats. And I hope that, if you're someone, of a younger age, you go back and you watch some Harley matches because they're really fucking good.
Well, Harley Race, as a 7-time heavyweight champion of the world, you've wrestled every great athlete in this sport, and you've defeated them. Who in your career would compare to this man?
Mr. Ross, there's not a man ever been in wrestling or is going to be that I can see that compares to this man right here. He is the ultimate athlete today. 450 pounds, 6'5". The most natural athlete that I've ever had the pleasure of being around or being associated with, and thank God I never had to wrestling. This is the ultimate athlete.
I know that the chair that Sting hit you with did not faze you. His Stinger Splash did not faze you. I'm not so sure that he could even apply the Scorpion Deathlock. But I do know you have a statement to make to the world champion.
Mr. Announcer, Vader fears no man. And the world has just seen Vader feels no pain. Sting, the first time I hurt you in the ring was for free. Next time, you have to pay Vader. And you have to pay him with a lot. The World Heavyweight Championship, Sting, that's what the price is.
Ladies and gentlemen, the contracts have been signed for the heavyweight championship of the world. At 450 pounds, he will outweigh the champion some 200 pounds. Again, I repeat, how can Sting overcome those odds? The main event continues after this.
So, Matt, what are your thoughts on Harley Race?
Well, I always remembered him for, as a, up here, I had a tape that was like Monsters of the Mat and like, classics and Pro Wrestling Illustrated tape. And there was a Flair Harley Race match in the cage from Starrcade '83. So, so that was my first exposure to Harley Race. And then, of course, Harley Race from the Slammy Awards. I always used to laugh. There was the brawl with him and Jim Duggan had.
That took place through the entire show.
Yeah, and that's such a lost opportunity to push somebody. Like, they could have two guys who are rivals now, and just the running gag is that they're always fighting. So you just have, like, Roman Reigns cutting a promo, and down in the, like, way in the distance, you see two guys fighting, and it's like, oh, it's just, those two guys are at it again, like. But it was a really funny thing. Or, like, oh, something's happening in there. Is it 24/7 belt? No, it's those guys are fighting. The other memory of Harley Race that always stood out, it was like a running gag. We talked about pop culture in the pre-show, was the Barry Windham-Luger cage match. And Harley Race walks up and goes, "Now's the time." And pile drives Windham and wins the title.
It's funny. Luger remembers that match wrong.
Really?
Luger remembers him pile driving Windham on the belt, which he didn't do.
Really?
That's why it was so confusing because, like, at that point, Windham was a heel, Luger was the face, and they did the double switch. But no one got it until, like, he had to cut a promo on the Z-Man, like, 2 weeks later on TV. And no one got that Luger was a heel. And, of course Luger turns, because it's Luger, is what he does. He turns on people.
Right.
You think it would have been different? You're talking about Great American Bash 91. You think it would have been different if Windham had gotten the belt there versus Luger?
I don't know. Maybe not there, but Windham should have got the belt earlier in the
Well, yeah, for sure.
But,
like 88, for both Luger, maybe 87, Windham should have got the belt. Luger should have got the belt in 88 for sure at that bash. That's when the fucking Baltimore crowd fucking turned on fucking the promotion. They're yelling at fucking Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone because they did that fuck finish with Flair and Luger. But Harley's longevity is something interesting. He was someone to be able to change with the times. Like, he was the NWA for the longest amount of time. He was the representative of the NWA with the suit and with the belt, and him coming to the WWF to play a character. Although, I think they put respect on Harley because they just called him the king. He's the king of wrestling. He's fucking Harley Race. Duh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he won some sort of tournament in Foxborough to win that crown. But, the WWF always had respect for him. And to the point is that even when they had to transfer him from, I believe, Atlanta to St. Louis and his Medicaid wouldn't cover it, the WWF fit the bill for that. They paid for it.
Wow.
To take that medical flight. So good on Vince. Vince is always someone that definitely respected Harley for sure. Like, he wasn't a lot of those NWA, WCW guys got shitted on quite a bit, but not Harley. Like, he was playing a character for sure, but he wasn't shitted on.
Yeah.
They put him with Heenan. He's in top level angles with some of your top guys. I mean, he had the angle with Hogan. The Saturday's main event. He had that. People forget how big fucking Junkyard Dog was. Like, he was like clearly number 2 babyface, and people forget how big and important Jim Duggan was. Like, there were number 2, number 3 babyfaces for sure. So it wasn't like Harley was being jobbed out to like Coco Beware and shit. Like, they treated Harley pretty good. And even when they had that match in 1989 with him and Haku, I mean, it got cut off the fucking videotape, but still, he's still the king of wrestling, and he got his own action figure and everything. And Harley was an amazing worker, and from what I understand, an amazing guy. Everyone loved Harley Race. He's a character. He's like someone that you couldn't see him be anything else other than a professional wrestler. He's like one of these guys, man.
Who do you think was his best student, the person that he trained that went furthest?
We have the Barbarian, Ted DiBiase Jr., Curtis Axel, the Harris Brothers, Chris Masters, Haku, Morishima, Butch Reed, Trevor Rhodes, Ace Steel, Rick Steiner. That's a fucking pretty good list. I mean, it's not Vern Gagne's list, but it's still a fucking really good list. Like fucking Ming? Like fucking, he trained fucking Ming? Imagine him fucking taking liberties with fucking Haku. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
But, you know, his legacy definitely lives on. And, guys, go out there and do yourself a favor. Watch a couple of Harley matches. You know, rest in peace, Harley Race. So, Matt, recently you've been watching some Monday Night Raw. How's that been going?
Oh, boy. Talk about, like, if there's a way to say, well, you know, we don't want to have a competitor. We want to make sure that we're the one product everyone watches, and doing the exact opposite. That's what they've done. It is weekly terrible, and overall the products. You know, again, it comes down to this thing where you have talented wrestlers that can pull off the moves. I saw a thing recently. Roman Reigns kind of shot back at John Moxley talking about how the creative process was. Yeah. And he made a comment to the fact of like, well, you control you at the end, you're the one that can in control, and it's like, well, maybe if you're Roman Reigns, it is, but if you're anybody else, you do.
If it's Roman Reigns been fucking himself for like 3 years.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, Roman.
Yeah, and
no one should talk about fucking creative. You're the last person because your creative has been the worst.
Yeah.
You're getting booed out of fucking buildings.
And I think really outside of just the ridiculous writing. Like the 24/7 title, they did a thing a couple weeks ago where they had this opening where it was like the WWE Championship honor, and they tried to elevate that belt as if it was. Now, part of it's like I get it's tongue in cheek per se, but seriously, it's a fucking shit show. It should be called the Shit Show Championship. It's just a ridiculous like hot shot the belt. Like I think R-Truth's held it 10 times already. It's just there's no prestige in it. Essentially, it's the jobber belt.
It's a gag belt. It's to do something funny. It's doing something funny and cute for a backstage segment. It makes the show easier to write, I guess. Because like, we got to we'll fill 30 minutes with this 24/7 nonsense.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean anything, so we're not going to it doesn't mean anything. It's just, we're gonna have a title defense at a golf course. That's gonna get old and lame real quick if it hasn't already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's fucking.
What I go back to is this. What you have happening an awful lot is ridiculous continuity errors or just stupid decision-making. And the whole thing was like this commercial. Remember for a while they were doing this thing where it was like, we'd have these 2 out of 3 fall matches. They could do commercial breaks.
Yeah.
And they do this ridiculous thing where it's like, there's going to be... Like, it's just so contrived. Just shoot the match. Have the match. You don't have to do a 20-minute match. And I think that's the problem is you get these people who are trying to write TV through sports, and it's like, well, are you going to have the idea or theory of unpredictability, or you want to keep it just like, well, we know the match and end it, 10 minutes is a commercial break in 10 minutes. Just give us a good match, give us good quality stuff, and unfortunately, like we had a match tonight that was Andrade versus Rey Mysterio. Good match, really solid, well put together, good pace, good moves, all these things, right? And they gave them time to perform. It wasn't like they stiffed them on time. It wasn't like a 2-minute match. Those things happen all the time. They need more of that. And I think I saw a thing recently where somebody, I don't know if Roman Reigns or somebody else in another interview was talking about, well, AEW is saying their competition is being generous. And right now I get it. AEW hasn't done anything really yet. Give them time to get going, get on TV. We'll see what happens.
AEW makes me fucking nervous as fuck. They give me a lot of things to be nervous about because from the outset looking in, it looks like the way they're gonna book the show, they're gonna book to be ironic. They're gonna be booked to be funny. They're gonna book to be cute. They're gonna be, it's like they're gonna book to entertain themselves, not necessarily the fans. And some of the quotes coming out of there is a little disturbing as well. Like, when they go out and say, "Well, we're not out to capture casual fans. We're just gonna do our niche fans that we already have," is like, yeah, but no, you don't grow that way. It's a very bizarre position to take. I understand to a certain degree that No, you're gonna stick with what brought you to the dance. You know what I mean?
Right.
To a certain degree. That being said, you're going on national television, you're on prime time, you have to make fucking adjustments, especially where there's not a whole lot of people on their roster or in their backstage or the corporate office who've done that before. Hell, MLW has more.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it makes me very nervous. They make me nervous. I think the problem is, and the reason why it makes me so nervous is that if they fail, no one with money is going to invest in wrestling for a very long time, if ever again. So they have to be successful. Because if they fail, no football owner is going to come, give another wrestling company money. This is not going to happen. And if they book a lot of shenanigans and tomfoolery, and people are going to watch it like, this is stupid, I'm not going to watch anymore. Like, can we just do good wrestling? Please just do good wrestling.
I think
basic good wrestling. Just do that.
I think if they're smart, and they seem to be very smart about things, they will take elements from New Japan that work and work with elements that work in America. I think we've mentioned before, like the Orange Cassidy type thing, the comedy thing. Like Toru Yano in New Japan. He's funny, but it's not like he's
New Japan didn't start with that shit either. They had like fucking 30 years of fucking very dry, very competitive, real wrestling, and then they took their left turn and they were able to do that. And a lot of their comedy shit, it's in fucking battle royals before the show starts.
Yes.
They ain't doing that shit in your semi-mains, for sure. They're not doing the main events either. So it's like, it makes me very nervous. It wasn't like WWF were doing comedy shit in fucking 1979 either, when they're first, they weren't doing comedy shit in 1983 when Vince started nationally expanding. They weren't. They eventually got there, but when you have so much fucking equity that you can do that shit, you don't start out with that shit. Ring of Honor did the same shit, right? Their first thing they put on a Ring of Honor show was fucking the Christopher Street connection getting fucking destroyed by fucking they got destroyed by the Hit Squad, and Christopher Street was your stereotypical gay gimmick.
Yep.
And that was the swerve. Like, we're gonna do this Ring of Honor show. We're gonna do it super serious. And the first thing they do is they have your stereotypical gay gimmick get fucking squashed by two giant dudes, and that's how you started it. I think if Gabe had to pick again, try that again, he wouldn't have started it that way. But he wanted to swerve the people.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like AEW has to be like, okay, especially the first 6 weeks, you have to tell us what you want to be. In the first 6 weeks of AEW television, what it's going to be.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll
better have an idea.
It's going to be very interesting because they're going to have a lot of good.
Just don't be WCW 2000. Don't be too insidery. Don't be too sheet heavy. Don't make references like Russo used to on WCW TV. Don't do that. For the love of God, don't do that. I recently watched WCW 2000, and I was like, is it as bad as I thought it was? It's fucking worse. Holy shit. Just don't do that. But, again, they have a unique opportunity here. They cannot blow it. And I hope they're feeling the pressure.
Yeah, I hope it goes well. I think it will. I think what they can do is they can focus on the more athletic aspect of it, because I really feel that, and I remember when I made my pitch to WWE many years ago, and I was told they're not big on tournaments, because my thing was I had a lot of events built around winning this, winning that, and I feel that if you take a G1 type approach, the G1 is a phenomenal tournament.
Yeah, and it's long as fuck. That's like 3 months of TV.
Right, and that's what I'm saying is you don't have to do it that. Like, you can take a smaller chunk and say we're going to do a tournament or whatever. Or we're going to have this. I just feel like they can do a lot of good with this. And my only worry is that, like, looking at their shows, like one of the last shows was the Lucha Brothers versus Young Bucks.
Yeah.
And I think you need to establish like a star. Like, I saw a thing on Reddit, and it was like, draw stars that don't draw on a Reddit thing, and they drew a picture of Cody Rhodes. And it's like, well, they can if you have them built up right. Like, again, so I think, are you building AEW around a tag team, or is it Kenny Omega? Like, who is going to be their big guy? Like, Kenny Omega, the hottest wrestler in the world a year ago or a year and a half ago, is now where is he? Like, what's he doing? Like, let's get this going. Let's see some more stuff here. And that's where I hope that they do make all the right moves. And
I hope so, because Cody needs a rival, and I don't think Shawn Spears is going to be that guy. So they're going to need somebody to fill that void. They're going to make him, or they got to take him. Who is the rival for Cody? Who is his Flair? Who is his Dusty? Who is his rival? Who is his Austin to his Rock? You know what I mean? Like, they need to develop that guy. And if they don't have him on the roster now, then you better fucking hire him quick.
Well, I think the guy to really, if you want to have that guy, I don't know how he is promo-wise, but if he is as good as he looks, Brian Cage.
I 100% agree.
Brian Cage would be the guy to bring in, have him destroy Kenny. Like, have Kenny get to the point where he is winning the title and the first major, challenger. Because I think he moves so well, he's amazing. So, like, it's almost like there's got to be something. I hate to say this, like, negative. Like, there's got to be something keeping him from being signed. Like, come on, the guy's.
I don't know anything. Like, I don't know any backstage issues. I don't know. I've never heard anything but positive about him. I think he's happy where he's at. Maybe, I don't know. But I would have been hot to get Cage. I've been hot to get Tessa Blanchard. I've been hot to get, and I know you can't sign everybody, but James Storm. Those are guys that, like, okay, they can lend us some credibility. You put them on the poster, and it's not Marco Stunt on the poster. Like, I like Marco Stunt, and I like Jungle Boy, but I look at them on the poster, I'm like, no, they look like they're 6. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a big difference between putting Marco Stunt on the poster and Brian Cage on the poster, for sure.
Yeah.
And I like Marco Stunt. I think there's a spot for him. For sure, 100%. He could be on my show anytime. But if I'm trying to be the biggest wrestling company in the world, or I'm trying to make the best wrestling I can do, I don't know if I'm having him on my poster. It's just, I don't know. That doesn't work for me, brother. Give me some Brian Cage. I want to see more MJF. I mean, obviously they're going to push him to the top spot. Adam Page is going to get pushed to a top spot for sure. Like, that's happening. They got Mox in there, so that's good. Happy about that. The Lucha Brothers are fantastic. They need more teams to feud with. Like, I can't, how many more Lucha Brothers versus Young Bucks matches are we going to get at this point? They need other teams. Like, the Revival would be a nice get if that's even possible. Luke Harper would be a nice get if that's even going to be a thing. Sasha Banks, even though she likes to land on her face all the time, at least she brings a name value there at the very least. You know what I mean? And I think it would help their women's division, which they're starting out very small. We'll see how to develop. To me, to be honest, and I know they had to do it, but I like MLW's approach better. It's like, we're not going to have a women's division until we can do a women's division right.
Yeah.
And we're not going to throw them to be a sideshow or second tier or anything like that. And that's a concern with AEW. It's like, yeah, they got Kong, they got a lot of these ladies, but who's the star? Is it Brandy? Is Brandy supposed to be the star of that division? Because that looks weird.
I don't think she will be unless she comes off as a heel. But I think, again, it goes to the point that, the heel boss persona thing, I'm looking forward to see what they do. I'm not going to jump on either.
Just make Arn Anderson the fucking neutral guy.
Oh, my God. Make him the commish guy?
Yeah. Arn's signed. Like you have two choices. Arn can do it or Dean can do it, and I pick Arn over Dean Malenko.
Yes.
So I think that's for sure. We know he can cut a promo, and he can talk, and he's credible and he has respect. So it's weird having the Young Bucks be main event stars and the boss. It's just weird to me. I don't know if that works for me. So you need a buffer there. So and Arn Anderson could be that buffer. Be better than Ross. I mean, maybe J.J. Dillon possibly can fill that role as well if he wanted to. Cornette would have been the guy, but he doesn't get along with those guys, so he ain't coming. But Cornette would have been the guy for that authority figure type role. But, we get to see Cornette in MLW, and I feel bad for MLW. I feel a lot of their buzz that they would have had was swallowed up by AEW. Because you watch it, we just watched, me and Luke just recently watched their big show they just did. and we had a hard time finding any flaws in this show.
I've heard.
Like, we nitpicked the fuck out of it too. We couldn't find anything.
You know what? The thing is, it's fine. That, like, okay, great. Do your thing. Keep going. You're the UWF in my opinion. Like, remember back, everything was WCCW, then it was USWA, and a whole time like UWF was well booked, well run. Moving right along, and then they merged with WCW or got bought out, whatever. But,
They got bought.
But they were doing their thing, and it was like, just do a good job, man. Do your thing.
Like, the MLW is the San Antonio Spurs of professional wrestling. They're just so fundamentally good. But they may not have the biggest stars, but they're fundamentally good.
Yeah.
Like it's like, we watched it. It was like, this is a good show. Like, this is like, if more people would watch it and more people would see it, it'd be like, they would be able, like, Jacob Fatu is fucking amazing, and we like the Contra Unit, and everyone. Here's the thing, man. I don't know if you watch a lot of MLW, but the heels and the baby faces get the appropriate reactions.
Yeah.
So the people boo the heels, and the people cheer the baby faces.
Well, that's where I first saw
amazing to me.
That's where I first saw MJF. He was there. And
he's still there. And they have these little factions, and the Von Erichs are in there looking fucking great, getting huge pops. It's like, there's more to that. I think I highly, highly recommend MLW to anyone that would hear it. They should be doing more with, I know they got the deal with Noah now, Pro Wrestling Noah in Japan, so we're going to see a lot more Japanese talent coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And they got Conan and Selena De La Renta. Even Robert Parker makes an appearance every once in a while. And they got Shivani on commentary. And then when Shivani has football season or baseball season, Cornette fills in for Shivani on commentary. So, again, fundamentally fucking fantastic show. It's solid. I just can't find any flaws with it. And hopefully one day they'll get into bigger arenas and they grow, and they're fundamentally booked extremely well. And Nelson Swegler is like the director. Now, Nelson Swegler fucking directed WrestleMania 1. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
like they have guys in their backstage guys. They have Dave Sahadi. They have guys backstage who have been doing this for a very long time. They're pros.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for AEW, they don't have a lot of those guys.
Yeah.
So they'll be more prone to mistakes once they hit TV. I'm sure of it.
Well, I will say this, getting back to WWE, there are some things they're doing well. I think they've built the thing where AJ Styles is the U.S. belt, and the OC, which is Gallows and Anderson, have the tag belts, and they got New Day with the tag belts and the world title. And I think people, going back to my old Horseman days, or the DX days, like, they like it when the stables have titles. Like, even like the Undisputed Era. Like, it gives them credibility as a stable to have a title in there. It looks good if they all have them. It makes them more of a legit threat as a competitive thing. So WWE is doing some things that are doing well, but I just think that...
Do you think the fact that they've gone more, quote-unquote, edgy has helped them to any degree at this point? I know they said cunt on TV the other day. Like, did it help them, or I have a hard time. I can't watch Raw. I don't know. If you guys listen to the show long enough, you would know that I cannot watch Monday Night Raw because every Monday night around 8 o'clock I get the shits, and I'm in the bathroom for 2 hours.
Yeah, it is. Well, put it this way, the ratings seem to go lower and lower and lower, and I think what is happening is you have them scrambling to make Vince happy, thinking that him happy makes ratings happy. And it's not that formula.
No, because Vince is run down you.
And you're better off. I almost want to say, and it sounds funny to say this, but like, do more compartmentalization. Have like a 1 hour writer, a second hour writer, third hour, and keep the people in those hours in those hours. They do this whole thing right now where there's absolutely no commitment to brand. So the split they made such a big deal about. Like, I keep thinking, like, what are they gonna do for like Survivor?
I told you, go back and listen to the show when we talked about brand split and the draft. And I told you that's not gonna fucking work. And after a certain amount of time, they're gonna say they're gonna abandon it like they've done it in the past. That's the bottom line. We knew this was gonna happen. This is not news. It's stupid. I thought the brand split was stupid. I didn't think it was gonna work. Oh yeah. Oh, Paul Heyman's writing Raw. He ain't writing shit. Still has to be passed through Vince, so he's still getting filtered. Bischoff's in charge of... Bischoff ain't writing shit. He never wrote shit before.
Right.
He's never part of creative. He's the guy that's going to be going to the Fox offices and talking to Fox. Because he's the corporate man. He's a good front man to have.
Yep.
And I like Eric Bischoff a lot. More than most people probably should. I have a lot of respect for what he did in terms of being able to navigate the minefields of Turner and being an executive there and being executive for professional wrestling. Not a lot of those. Not a lot of wrestling executives exist in this world. There's like Patterson, there's Ross, there's J.J. Dillon, and there's Eric Bischoff, and there's not a whole lot of other ones.
No, I think you could make a very easy argument and say, okay, we're going to bring somebody in that is a new voice, or it has to be somebody who's a new voice who's going to really stand out, or it's going to be a voice we respect. And I think Arn Anderson makes a great choice as and maybe the thing is, I think it's smart if they don't tell us all your secrets. Let it roll out, and over time, okay, this is that, good things. Again, it's early. October? It's starting up.
Yeah, we got a couple of months to go.
A few months, so it's fine. All Out's coming up, right?
All Out too, yeah.
I did buy tickets to see New Japan Wrestling in September.
Oh.
I got 2 tickets. I'm in the Loge, so it's not terrible. It's fine. Not nosebleeds. The prices was pretty good. I have no idea what's going to be on the show, but I'll be happy to be there. I hope I see Yano.
Just to see, because New Japan, what I've noticed when New Japan does, they don't try to Americanize it at all. So it's a New Japan show. So fucking entrances are going to be in fucking Japanese. You're going to hear the high-pitched squeal of the young Japanese women in the crowd. It's going to be as authentic as you can get out of, but it's in the States. You know what I mean? And that's what people wanted. People wanted that authentic New Japan feel, because let's be all honest. In all honesty, we ain't going over for Wrestle Kingdom, although I really, really want to. But the majority of us are not going over for Wrestle Kingdom. So at least we get the New Japan experience here, which is to their credit. They didn't balk on that when they did the ROH New Japan Super Show. I went to the Garden, so they kept it as authentic as they could.
Yeah.
I was thinking to myself the other day. I think that's a really, really scary thought. When it comes to old school professional wrestling that we enjoy, territory wrestling, what have you, how much is it that it was actually good versus nostalgia? Because I was talking to a young man recently at my job who recently started. He watched. You talking about wrestling. He's into wrestling. We're talking about a little bit AEW, a little bit WWE. I'm like, and as it comes up in the natural flow of conversation, he's like, "Hey, bud, when did you start watching wrestling?" He was like, "Oh, the end of the invasion." I was like, "End of the invasion, like 2002." It's like shit. It's like, oh yeah, I told him, I'm more of an old school guy. I've been watching since '87, but I'm into stuff that's a little bit older as well. And he's like, I don't know, man, I can't get into it. It's all like headlocks and stuff. It's like, clearly you haven't watched Memphis from the '80s, but that's okay. But I always wondered to myself, is like, there's wrestling that we didn't get the chance to watch. Like, I can tell you for a fact that Memphis wrestling is really good, because I'm not nostalgia for it, because I never saw it as a kid. When I go back and watch Memphis, it's fucking phenomenal. You know what I mean? Where, I'm looking at fucking WrestleMania 5, it's like, is this show as good as I think it is? Or is it nostalgia because I really loved WrestleMania 5 and I watched it 1,000 times? So I'm always kind of wondering to myself, is like, is this really good or is it not really good? It doesn't really matter, because as long as you enjoy it, that's all that really matters. But in terms of, if I want to sit here and critique other things, it's like I need to have a basis of like, I like Georgia Championship Wrestling. I like Florida. I like all the territories. Like, I don't see a territory that, maybe some of the AWA stuff is something I didn't like from back in the day. But it's like, is there any wrestling from back in the day that you didn't like? Oh, fuck this shit, I hate it.
Oh boy. I think for me, it would have to be WCW stuff that I watched, and I'm like, oh man, this was like way worse than I remember. And it's
like, which year?
It's Jim Herd years.
Okay, so like '89. Not 89, because everyone will say 89 is a good year, but 90, 91.
Yeah, I think more like 91. 90 was pretty bad, and then like 91. But I think it comes and goes. It's like in pockets of like, I remember this guy being good, and you watch like, oh, his promos are fun, but he was terrible. Like I remember when I was training, I would watch a lot of wrestling, and I would watch like different styles, and I'd pick apart. Like in my head, I'm like watching, going, okay, they do this move, this move, this move to set up this move, or they, you know, like how they're setting moves up. And some of the guys are just so like when you know like who's calling the match, you can tell. It's just one of those things that I have always said everyone loves the circus, so they work for one, and that's the thing about wrestling too. Like before I was in wrestling as a wrestler, it was a fan. I absorbed everything. I loved everything. Once I started working, I realized oh, that guy's a shit worker. That guy must be terrible.
Like, who was the worst worker that you liked?
That I liked?
Yeah, like who was like, you look back at them like, they are shitty at wrestling, but you loved them as a kid.
Oh, boy.
Mine was Corporal Kirshner. 100%.
Oh,
because that goes the other way, too. Like, I hated the fucking Honky Tonk Man. I thought the Honky Tonk Man sucked. I look back now, he's fucking awesome. I love Honky.
I think for me, the guy the opposite way was Dusty Rhodes. I hated him as a fan. I was a Horseman mark. But once I got in the ring and realized what he was doing, I became a huge fan of his. You know, like, I'm trying to think of the worst person I...
Tito? Is it Tito?
Rick Martel's up there.
Really?
For guys that didn't like, or thought like were way better than they were.
You talking about babyface Rick Martel or heel?
Yeah, babyface.
Yeah, for sure. Because a lot of people nowadays, a lot of people Strike Force was awesome, but I think back in the day, I think we all thought Strike Force sucked. I couldn't stand fucking Strike Force. Like if you watch the reaction of when they when they lose the Demolition at WrestleMania 4, there's a pop. Like Demolition gets a pop there.
Yeah,
which is different. So it's maybe the fans didn't really care for okay. Let me ask you a question. Who do you think was better, the Can-Ams or Strike Force?
Can-Am or Strike Force?
Zank and Martel.
It's been. I'd have to watch Can-Am again. I've watched Strike Force more recently than I have Can-Am, but I know according to Tom Zink, they were going to be the next biggest thing.
They were getting pushed. They would have. Strike Force got their shot at their title. They were penciled in to win the championship, so they're going to beat the Hart Foundation, and then they just replaced Zank with Santana, and they still won the championship. So they got their push, for sure. And I don't think Strike Force did wonders for Santana, especially when Martel was out hurt, and they didn't know what to do with Tito. Although apparently Tito was on the booking committee back then.
Oh boy,
it's unconfirmed, by the way. But they didn't do anything. He was ended up going down the mid card, lower mid card, when he had been number 2 babyface, number 3 babyface, IC champion for a very long time. Seemed an odd fit for him to go from that to I'm going to be Rick Martel's tag team partner.
Yeah,
it seems like such a downgrade for Tito, and Tito, when you look at the late '80s, Tito wasn't the greatest, but he's awesome. I'm going to meet him in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. All right, I recently met the Native American Tatanka.
Really?
There's a wrestling action figure and collectible store that just opened up 10 minutes away from my house, so of course I have to go, right? Tassels, toys. Apparently, Zack Ryder buys a lot of his stuff from him, from what I understand. But I was like, hey, Tatanka's going to be down there. He's 10 minutes away from my house. If Tatanka's going to be 10 minutes away from my house, I can't justify not going. You know what I mean? It's so he's still in shape. Got another run left in him. He was just recently at the Raw reunion as well. And, he seemed like a really nice guy. Fucking big. I think sometimes you forget how big these fucking fuckers are. Tatanka is fucking big, and in a couple of weeks, Tito's going to be down there, so I'm going to meet Tito. Tito Santana was the first wrestler I ever met when I was 8 years old. At an autograph signing at my local cable vision, so that was pretty cool. So we get to go full circle there, but yeah, poor Tito, huh? There was the rumor that he was going to win the championship in '92. It was either him or Bret Hart.
Really?
Yeah. And they were either, hey, we're going to either expand into Mexico or we're going to expand into Canada. And they chose to expand into Canada. So that's the rumor anyway. I don't know.
Wow.
Tito. Imagine Tito winning the belt in '92. Fuck. as El Matador and shit.
Yeah.
Like that's like alternate. Like how would you even book that? Like he beats Flair? Like he gets squashed by Yoko? Like the Reba man finally wins it? And you know, a lot of people will say, oh, like they were gonna have a Hispanic heavyweight champion. It's like, yeah, Pedro Morales was just champion for like 4 years before that, so that's not an issue for the WWF. Actually, the WWF is actually very different. They like their ethnic champions quite a bit. Except if you're black, but that's neither here or there. Yeah, Tito Santana, El Matador. That killed him, right? For sure, right? El Matador killed Tito. Like he's dead at that point.
Yes. Oh yeah, totally.
Like he wasn't he was on the Survivor Series, the Survivor Series '90. He was on he was in the main event because he like was a sole survivor of his match with Warrior and Hogan, and the final match of Survival. But they put that fucking El Matador together, and he never changed. Like there was like that 2-year period of time where he stayed in the Strike Force gear for no reason.
Yeah.
Like, why did you do that for? Like a lot of those guys, you saw like those guys that initial expansion roster from '83 get demoted down the card. Like you saw like the Hammer, like Greg Valentine came in as a top guy, and he leaves as almost a jobber. You know what I mean? But he was there for so long. You know, he was there for 8 years, and I think that's a lot of like we don't see that happen nowadays. Like you don't see fucking Randy Orton, who's been a top guy. He's not fucking jobbing out in the second match.
No.
But he's not getting the next level. Like Tito helped get Randy over, and the Hammer helped get like Beefcake over, and Ronnie Garvin over, and helped get these guys over, Savage over, and you know they did wonders with the Bulldogs, but you don't see a Randy Orton really putting over. Like it doesn't even matters if Randy loses at all, but these guys are not coming down the cards like they should, and it's weird. And once again, the WWE has to rely on fucking legends, and Shawn Michaels is going to appear, and Goldberg's coming back for SummerSlam. He's going to fight Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah,
fucking Goldberg. Like you're in a jam and you call up Goldberg. That's your bright idea. That's your idea. That's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Like we need to get some ratings. We need a ratings boost here. We're gonna call up Goldberg. What?
Yeah.
Call up Scott Steiner. For fucking sakes. Like Goldberg? Like we can't get the Boogie Woogie Man out there? Like Goldberg. We're going with Goldberg. Like I know you're not gonna throw Hogan out there every week because he's tainted, but Goldberg? But in reality, is like if you're not gonna have The Rock and you're not gonna have Steve Austin, like is Goldberg a viable option?
Right.
Like, because Austin's not wrestling any more matches. He's done. And, like, the Goldberg is, like, the last of those legends who were left from that era. Tim and Jericho. And, you know, just like... But, you know, every time they do the reunion shows, they just recently had a Raw reunion show and what have you. It makes it's staggering to see how much more over the legends are versus the current stars. Like it's staggering. You know, I'm sorry, but in 1986 there was not a person on the fucking planet that was more over than Hulk Hogan. Not even Bruno.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. It's like there was no one more over than Steve Austin in 1998. You could have brought in anybody. Not more over than guys that currently have your roster. Now they bring in these legends, and they're like, we're so much more over. The Honky Tonk Man is more over than Roman Reigns. For fuck's sake, stop doing it. Oh, DX again. DX, 96-year-old DX. Yay, that's awesome. Not interested. I don't know. That's just a weird thing they do. Like that it's not they haven't done it in the past. Like in the 80s, they used to do like these Legends Battle Royals on house shows. So it's something they've done before, but not to this fucking degree. Not every fucking 3 or 4 months. Fucking goddamn ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, that's how desperate they are currently. So, all right, guys. So we are officially out of time. So for